Good evening, everybody. It's 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. I'm sorry, I'm super distracted because my idiot dog is like rolling around on the
Oh my
carpet next
gosh.
to me,
She's not an idiot
looking.
dog. She's a cutesy little pooch. I don't know why you're so mean.
I'm not.
You're
She
the
is,
you're the you're the idiot owner for
but
doing that to poor Penny.
that's fair.
She's so adorable. Are you
That's
kidding me?
fair. I
Wow.
mean,
Wow.
what can I say? I
Oh.
mean, the reason people
What a
keep me
terrible
around.
what a terrible start to our stream. Just dissing on your cute dog like that?
Come here, Benny.
Unbelievable.
Come here.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Yeah.
now that
Listen to
I've insulted her, she doesn't want to come over
Yeah.
here.
Oh, I don't blame you,
She's
Penny.
even got
You
like
can
one
be
of her
cute.
ears are like tossed back, and
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
man.
I know. I'm. What can I
Ugh.
say? What can I say?
Oh, I had completely I don't know what is it the term my mojo is completely flipped.
Mm.
Flipped like a penny on
Yeah, no,
the floor.
she's appalled. She's with you. She's right there with you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's Monday. We are having. It's slowly drifting into fall here in Atlanta, and I'm happy about that. How is the weather on your coast right now?
Just great. My Amita and I we went up the living in Los Angeles. We went up the coast for her celebrate her birthday. We went to San Francisco and hung out there for a few days.
Oh,
So that was fun.
nice, nice.
Yeah, and driving around in the suburbs, visiting friends of the family, stuff like that. We saw some fall colors on some trees and stuff. So I guess there are rumors that fall is starting here in California too.
That's a
So
rumor.
yeah,
That's a rumor.
yeah.
So the larger question is though, do you even care? Like, do you care about foliage changing, or is this? I mean, I guess my question is like, is this something we've just sort of holistically convinced ourselves that we care about the color of the leaves, or
I
do you really
I
find it?
I find it really beautiful to look at. I do. I mean, sure. I guess you could. I don't know what it is. I do. That's the one area, probably one of the few things I missed from living in Utah was the fall colors. I
Mm-hmm.
don't miss winter at all, but I do miss fall. I miss the crispness of the air and how it's not super cold yet, but it's like in the mornings, it's fun to take a brisk walk in brisk cold air. All that stuff was fun. So I miss that aspect of it and it helped kind of show that the year is changing too. And you're not in I always feel like in Los Angeles, sometimes you feel like you're in a time warp sort of because you don't ever know what time of year it is if you're just to walk outside
Yeah,
randomly.
it's just basically. I know.
That's always the same. So that aspect I do miss. So I a
Okay.
really long-winded
That
answer.
was it.
Yeah,
That
I
was
do
a
miss.
test, and you passed. Yes,
Oh,
that
great,
was the correct answer.
great.
That was in fact the
Okay,
correct answer.
I got a test for you now.
Okay.
Do you find Dachshunds cute?
Oh my God, forget about it. Like that's the end of the world.
So there is some hope for you yet. I knew there was some humanity left in you. I was like
Yes,
really concerned there for a little bit, during our opening up like that. So yes, there we go. The humanity in Eric has been restored. So
barely, just
we
barely.
can we can continue with a normal everyday whatever that we do here on our stream, which is more rambling and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
but
So.
basically, I feel like we're off to a really strong start in terms of the rambling. But before
Yeah,
we get into more rambling, what are you planning on working on today?
all right, let me share my screen. And all right, so we last left off we're in Act One, and I worked on this warhog last week, and it falls down to the ground,
Mm-hmm.
collapses, etc. I actually want to kind of finish up the scene and work on Leon a little bit today. And
Okay.
maybe, I mean, I'm just going to work on the scene in general. I'll probably put Calamity in here, Leon, and maybe add a couple extra in-betweens for the Warhawk as it falls to the ground. I'm going to probably open its mouth slightly, and then, just a couple little extra drawings here and there. Yeah, I'll flesh out the scene, or just flesh out the drawings for the scene. So we'll go from sketch to final art. That's the goal by the end of our stream. We'll see how far I get. So
Okay.
that's the plan.
Okay.
As we do this, I just want to kind of throw this out to you too. Is way back we, a couple of months back, actually not way back, but we decided to kind of play with Leon's color, skin, his actual skin tone. So we do have our archive of him with the
Mm-hmm.
green, but
Mm-hmm.
we did settle on this more. What do you call this? Burgundy?
I think
What,
it's
what
no,
would
it's
you
a
call it?
little bit too light for a burgundy, but I mean, I'd say it's
Fuchsia?
yeah. I think it's like a dark fuchsia.
Yeah. So I need to update. I want to update Leon with this dark fuchsia color scheme as well on his
Mm-hmm.
asset
Mm-hmm.
library a little bit. So there's a lot of work to do that just kind of looks very light, but it actually will occupy probably well into a couple of streams for all I know. We'll see where I get today though. But yeah, so
Well, I mean,
that's where I'm
lucky
at
for you,
today.
Leon's only in Act 1, so...
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So yeah, so I'll be you'll watch me flipping around screens. I'll be probably since I'm here, I'll start updating Leon here, and I'll go back to this scene, and then I'll kind of start figuring out this pose for him, and add it to Leon's library of stuff. So
nice.
that's what I've got going on. I've been sitting on a question for a while. I know I already know the answer, but for fun for entertainment purposes, I want to know. Now, this is an absurd question. Did you go and get Super Mario Wonder and
What
and
kind
play it
of,
maybe
like, I mean,
15
like, that is
minutes?
just, like... Why would you even ask such a ridiculous question? I'm already, like, 90% of the way through
I mean, oh wow,
it.
wow! It's only
It
been like
is.
2 days,
I have not
right?
let a moment settle. No, it came out.
Oh
It
my
came out last
word.
Friday, so it's been
Okay.
4 days. It's been four
4 days.
days.
Okay.
Actually, last Thursday. It came out last Thursday, so it's been 5 days.
Okay. So now, younger Eric, I think you would have
Yes.
probably gone there probably by midnight and got an initial copy. But I'm assuming you waited until Friday. Wise Eric
No, I
now.
stayed. No, no, I was not wise, Eric. I stayed up till midnight and I downloaded
Are
it
you serious?
and
Wow.
I
Okay.
played it.
Okay.
I played it for a
Okay.
full hour before I finally passed to sleep. Yes, yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, so okay. So the floor is yours. I'm just gonna shut up, ladies
James,
and gentlemen. At this point, I'm just gonna.
James, what can I say? It's everything that it should be and then some. It is it is literally, if you took the entire concept of joy, if you took the concept of joy and happiness and you like squeezed it down until it was in a diamond crystalline form, and you took that raw diamond of joy and you chipped it into this like beautifully shaped 20-carat diamond of joy, perfectly polished, that would be Super Mario Brothers Wonder. It is, without a
Wow.
doubt, the best 2D platformer I have played since probably Super Mario Brothers 3.
That's pretty.
I mean,
That's high praise. That
I
is
don't,
high praise.
I just don't even know where to start with this game. It is,
Okay, well, I'll ask the questions to see where we can go with this because I want to know what the
all
first
right.
hour's like.
The
You fired it up at midnight. Normally you're in bed, right? So you fired this up at midnight. So obviously it held your interest the first hour before, to. I mean, luckily you didn't do an all nighter, I guess, in some ways. But back in the day we would do that too.
Well,
Play games
yeah,
or
I've done
whatever.
that.
But
Yeah, I have. Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
So your first hour was like what? Like you were just in awe? Like you were really like that? Like
It's just instantaneously gratifying. So, I mean, it's a thing that only Nintendo can afford to do because they have bottomless money
mm-hmm,
and bottomless
mm-hmm.
time. Basically, after Super Mario Odyssey wrapped up, or maybe it was, I don't remember what it was, but some Mario project wrapped up, and so the Mario team was like, okay, what are we going to do for our next Mario game, right? And we're going to do a 2D Mario. And the higher up said, okay, we got to reinvent the wheel. We're tired of the way the 2D Mario games are going right now. Here's infinite money, and here is infinite time. You go off and you go and make a new. You would reinvent 2D Mario, and then when you finished reinventing it, come back and show us what the game was, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so they spent. It's been 11 years since a new 2D Mario has come out. Now, in that time, like they've updated New Super Mario Brothers U, and they
Mm-hmm.
re-released it on the Switch. And New Super Mario Brothers U is really good. It's got the flying
Yeah,
squirrel hat, which is
yeah.
great. It's one of my favorites. I love that. But that came out 11 years ago, right? So this is
Mm-hmm.
the first new new 2D Mario game in over a decade. And yeah, it was time well spent. What it feels like playing the game is every time someone on the team had a clever idea, ooh, isn't this fun? The game director was like, cool, that's in the game now. Right? Like there was no one ever said no. Right? Like
so wait, there was never a bad idea.
No, it was basically anything that was like even remotely fun, it was like, cool, now that's in the game, just find a place to put it. Right? I mean, it's just I don't know, it's filled with so many good ideas and so much clever design. And they also did a really interesting thing, which I 100% agree with. So this is interesting. There's a 4-part, and I highly recommend everybody do this. There's a 4-part devs interview, not like a podcast, like an actual old school written interview, on Nintendo's website that talks to the 4 creative directors, the 4 leads. So Koji Kondo, who's back and doing all the music direction, and Tezuka, I don't remember his first name, who's been like the producer on Mario Brothers since forever. So they're just talking about the game, and it was just sort of like this, there was so much joy in them developing the game, right? And it absolutely comes through in the experience. Oh yeah. So I don't know, it is just one of those things, you know. I am most of the way through it already. I have exercised absolutely zero restraint. Yeah. In fact, that's literally what I was doing 5 minutes before we started.
I'm not surprised. Yeah. I had a feeling, but you know, I wanted to just again, I just want to ask: is the sky blue? Is water wet?
Indeed,
all of those things. Super Mario game?
All of those things are true. One of the things that they did that I loved was, they talked to the 3D team. The team that does the 3D Mario games is apparently a whole different collection of people. And one of the things that the 3D team was like, well, yeah, generally speaking, for like the main game, we actually make it a little bit easier. We make it a little bit more accessible to general players. And so the 2D team, like, they went back and they started analyzing the more recent 2D Mario games, most specifically, obviously, New Super Mario Bros. U, and then the harder version of that, New Super Luigi U.
Mm-hmm.
And they just started playtesting it like with normal people, and normal people are like, yeah, this game is crazy, incredibly hard, just unbelievably difficult. And it is. New Super Mario Bros. U is one of the hardest, if not the hardest 2D Mario games they've ever made. Like just right from the beginning. And so they just started letting normies play it and like actually watching them play it, and they're like, oh man, this is really hard. And they decided, after speaking with the 3D dev team, you know, we're going to go back to since this whole game is just basically about joy and getting back to sort of the original concept of Mario, about just exploration and the joy of collecting coins and the joy of jumping and the joy of hitting flagpoles and eating mushrooms and that kind of stuff. Rather than trying to focus on this very refined, difficult, fine-tuned platformer, and Mario games always are, we're just going to make the game a little bit easier, and our design ethos is going to be, let's just bring joy to a video game, right? And so Mario Wonder might be the easiest 2D Mario game ever, actually. Like, even easier than the original Super Mario Brothers. Even easier than Super Mario Bros. 2 US version, because Super Mario Bros. 2 Japanese version is insanely difficult. But it might be the easiest of all of the 2D Mario Brothers. It's also probably the best one.
So with all this, with the names you mentioned, what about Shigeru Miyamoto? Like, was he involved as well? Like, where was he at during this whole thing?
Miyamoto is at this point a figurehead. I don't know that he really has a lot to do day to day with most games. I think they bring him in from time to time to analyze and to provide feedback. But generally speaking, Miyamoto is done what he's needed to do, and he's taken his creativity and his ideas, and he's passed them on to the next generation.
Okay.
And the next generation are doing amazing things, whether I like it or not. People love the new direction of Zelda.
Yeah, I'm same camp with you.
Which is fine. I mean, like, just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's bad. It just is.
Yeah.
It's clearly, people clearly love this, so that's awesome. One of his proteges went on to make Splatoon, for God's sake, right? And apparently the 5 leads on Super Mario Brothers Wonder all worked on the original Super Mario Brothers.
What? Wow. Were they 10 years old?
They were they were basically in their early 20s when they worked on the original Super Mario Brothers.
Man,
and they're like early 60s now, and they're still just like reinventing the wheel with this new game.
So how old is Miyamoto? Like 100? Because I thought he was in his 20s when he was working on that game.
He's 72. Yeah. He was born in 1952. So, no, he's 71. Sorry, he's 71.
Okay, all right.
So he's up there. I mean, and he doesn't do a lot, as far as I'm aware. He doesn't really do a lot of day-to-day creative work anymore. I mean, I think he's not retired per se, but I don't know that he's doing a lot of day-to-day work on games anymore. So, anywho, it's amazing. It is just happiness in game form. I feel better every time I get done playing it. So they succeeded. Yeah. I mean, we've talked at length on this podcast about how much I love Mario. I mean, I think like the gamers prefer Zelda and Metroid because it's a little bit gritty and it's more like, there's action and there's swords.
And it's more serious.
There's more danger. And it's a little bit more serious. But Mario has always been. Forget Zelda. Forget Metroid. I love both of those franchises. Don't get me wrong. But if someone said, pick a single franchise that you'll be allowed to play for the rest of your existence on a Nintendo platform, I'd go Mario before they even finish the sentence. Right? It's always been Mario. Right? And Super Mario Brothers Wonder just reaffirms that decision, quite frankly.
So, how now? There's some and again, I'm trying to. So, first of all, I appreciate you. You're not saying any spoilers at all because I want to play it.
It's hard to spoil a Mario Brothers game. In all fairness.
I know you already know what to expect. Right. Yeah, I get it. But But there's naturally. Questions. Naturally there's gonna be questions of okay, he can turn into an elephant. That's in the trailer. He obviously can turn into other stuff too. I'm assuming. They did that with Super Mario Bros. 3 where they introduced all these different costumes, and after that they never looked back. So I'm assuming there's gonna be some pleasant surprises with that.
The power-ups are all really fun. They all do really clever things if you know how to use them. And it goes it goes way beyond the power-ups. I won't say too much because I don't want you. But I mean, you get this immediately, so it's not really much of a spoiler. But there's now a badge system.
Oh,
so
okay.
You equip a badge and it gives you different abilities, and some are practical, like wall jumps that go straight up instead of out, or a badge where you can take one hit falling from a pit without dying and it just bounces you back up, or crazy ass badges that turn you invisible or make it so you can't stop running. Right? It's just weird things, and so that I think is the real from a creating the platform aspect of it. That's the real meat of it. Although Elephant Mario is amazing, especially when you consider half of the characters, because like none of the Yoshis and Nabbit, none of them can use power-ups, but they also don't take damage from enemies. So it's sort of like a trade-off. But Mario, Luigi, Toad, Yellow Toad, Blue Toad, Peach, Daisy, and Toadette. There's like 12 playable characters in this game. It's hilarious.
Wow.
5 of them can all use these power-ups, and I swear to God, the cutest thing ever is Daisy in elephant form, because like I prefer, like, Daisy's always been my princess. You know, Princess Peach is, you know, she's the main one, but it's
She
like
gets all the glory.
she gets all the glory. But for me, it's
Yeah.
Daisy, Rosalina, and then Peach at the bottom, right? Like that's
Okay.
my
That's your-
hierarchy of Mario princesses.
Okay.
So like just the design on the elephant forms of all of the characters is just it's absolutely hysterical. I mean, it's just an absolute riot. I mean, it's just
Okay.
yeah.
So here's another question, because I enjoyed the new Super Mario Brothers U, or whatever they called it on the Wii U, like that, whatever they put it on the Switch.
On the
But what I liked about but what I liked about it is how each of all the four characters, you play Toad, Mario, Luigi, they all had unique. It was a kind of throwback to Super Mario Brothers 2. They all had unique ways of jumping, right? But in this one, it looks like they're all the same, except for Nabbit, obviously, and that's a disappointing. I found that disappointing in the trailer. I'm basing everything on the trailer, so I don't know anything. So clearly, but
yes.
That's
So
what I saw.
in this, they talk about this. It's interesting that you bring this up because they talk about this in the dev interview, and it's a 4-part interview. It's a good read. It's actually, I love that Nintendo does these kind of things. I wish more studios did. Yes, and that was something they thought about. They're like, in New Super Mario Brothers U, Luigi jumped higher, Peach could float, and it's all like a holdover. You know, it's all like a bringing that up from Super Mario Brothers 2. And they were like, yeah, but we don't want, so like, and this is true. So one of the devs, he loved playing New Super Mario Brothers U, or all of the Super Mario Brothers games that had like Peach in it. He loved playing that with his daughter, but he like Super Mario 3D World and New Super Mario Brothers U in particular. But he hated that, like, she didn't want to play Peach because she wanted to jump like Mario. She didn't want to jump like Peach, right? But she wanted to play a female character, understandably, right?
Yeah, sure.
And so because he was like thinking about his daughter and like, I want to make sure that she can play the character that she wants to play. That was how the badge system was invented. So they like, okay, all the baseline, all the characters, all the 5 main characters, Mario, Luigi, Yellow Toad, Blue Toad, Peach, and Daisy, are 6 characters. They all at a base level behave the same, right? The Yoshis and Nabbit, they're different because they don't take damage, but they also can't use power-ups. So the 6 main characters, at a base level, they all function the same. Their jumps are the same, their speeds are the same, but where you get to customize is with the badges. So if you want to do the floating jump with Peach, you just put the floating jump on Peach. But you can also put the floating jump on Mario now, if you want to, right? If you want to do the crouching high jump from Luigi, you can do that on Luigi if you want to, just equip the badge. Or you can put it on Mario, right? And so the idea is like, you can customize your version of your favorite Mario character, but now, rather than it having to be Toad, or having to be Luigi, or having to be Peach, you can pick all the other any character you want, and then customize it that way, right?
So each all the core characters are all agnostic, so that way you can tap into it and make them any way you want to and feel nostalgic. And I get it. Okay. Well, here's the next question. Okay, you start out the game, and if you want to play as Peach and you want to do the hover, do you get a badge right away to do that, or do you have to unlock them?
No, I mean, this is Nintendo after all, and they don't. So you have to progress through the game because, you know, it's Nintendo, and they don't like. They're not. I mean, I remember, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, I remember in Mass Effect. This is a bit of an aside, but it's going somewhere. Like, you basically, they did such a bad job of the early game design. You get on the main space station, right? And you get all of these side quests that you can complete before you ever leave the space station.
Yeah.
But the intent was, you can pick up some of them or whatever. You can pick them up whenever you want to, and then come back to it, right, later. You didn't have to do them all at the same time. But what ended up happening is that most players ended up doing all of the Citadel side quests right at the very beginning of the game. So there is a pitfall that you can hit if you give the player too much right up front. Right? They can like myopically get obsessed with certain things where they really don't need to, or they get overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that they're presented with at the beginning.
Yeah.
And so Nintendo has always erred on the other side of that, where they drip feed you. And we've talked about this with Ring Fit Adventure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just now unlocked planks. I still haven't unlocked push-ups as an exercise.
Oh, man.
Right? And you know me, like, planks and push-ups, those are my two favorites, right?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And so it's just so weird that you... sometimes their logic is super weird, and they did this in Splatoon 2, where the Horde mode was only accessible at certain hours of the day, which is also, like, anyway, they got rid of that in Splatoon 3, which I still haven't gotten, actually, but, anyway, so they do that. You don't have all the access to all the badges right away. You do have to progress through the stages and then unlock the badges, and then you have them, but they are pretty generous. You get the badges relatively quickly, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yes. I mean, it is Nintendo, so there is like an unlock process, right? That is kind of just a part of their milieu. I mean, that's just the way Nintendo operates, you know?
So here's the reason why I'm asking this, because now, as we get older, like we have nieces and nephews, kids that are around us that are playing the game and trying to introduce it to them. And like I remember one of my nieces, she loves playing Princess Peach. And one of the things that's great about it, especially when they're younger, is they get to have that extra 3 seconds to hover. So now I can imagine playing that with her. Oh, she's older now; she'll be fine. But but I have other nieces that are actually younger. If I want to teach them how to play it, they won't have that forgiving ability to play Peach anymore. But they can play Nabbit.
But
it's fine.
yes, exactly.
Nabbit's ugly. Nabbit's ugly.
But
like,
Yoshi's cute.
Yeah, Yoshi's cute.
And I'm pretty sure one of the Yoshis is pink, right? And
okay, all right.
And Yoshi's default ability is a flutter jump, right?
Yeah.
And so I mean they've thought about this. Like this isn't something that they do willy nilly, right?
Sure.
I mean, and this is the brilliance of Nintendo. Sometimes is that they are as smart as us, right? Like their designers like think about this kind of shit, and and so yes, it's exactly that. It's like they've thought about this. Yeah, Princess Peach has been a very accessible character because she can hover, right? But we're taking that away from her until we unlock the badge. And so they basically do easy mode with Yoshi and Nabbit so that you can you have those abilities, right? But then there is a trade-off, right? So if you're going to play as them, you also don't get to play with, elephant. Like Yoshi can't turn into an elephant, right?
Yeah.
So
that's no matter what, Nintendo can't be perfect. And the thing when you went way back in the Wayback Machine when Super Mario Brothers came out, that's a really hard game, actually.
It is really hard.
Who knew? Yeah. And who knew 40 plus years later that they'd be making a game for the masses? Because that's really what this game's designed to be. The point you're telling me is designed for everybody, and that's a challenge too. Because when you try to make it every person game, that it's daunting to try to do that versus making a Dark Souls clone or something like that where you just try to make it hard, right?
Right, exactly. I think that's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, Dark Souls knows the design. The developers of Dark Souls knows what audience they're shooting for.
Yeah.
And they rightfully relish in that audience, right? But something like Super Mario Brothers has to walk this. And that's not to say that it's easy to design Dark Souls just because you are like, oh, I'm going for this very specific. I mean, Dark Souls is, an impeccably well-designed game.
Yeah.
But there's something to be said about the accessibility, or the thought, at least, that goes into making something that's accessible for your niece, but also definitively enjoyable by an old man like me who's been playing Super Mario Brothers since he was literally 5 years old.
What? Yeah, which is like my niece's age now.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
the biggest the biggest challenge now is like, yeah, unfortunately, just and this again, this is a perfect example of how you can't plan for anything. My nieces are gonna gravitate towards Daisy and Peach, no matter how cute and pink Yoshi is. They're not the girl characters, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
So
No, I
that's the
appreciate that.
thing, and yeah, that's the only
Oh, it's
thing.
not. It's
But
not a perfect solution. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
it is not. It's not. But that is cool. But I do like the fact that they actually have the ability. The whole point of having them agnostic is awesome because I mean you can see what's so here. Okay, here's another question then. So if they have the badge, do they actually have different animation for when they do a floating jump and stuff. See, that's really cool.
It's just
That's
this
awesome.
bottomless pit of art. I can't. There's so much art in this game. It
Yeah.
just it's amazing to me. Um, like you hear these horror stories of games like Starfield, which is Bethesda's
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
RPG, or the latest Call of Duty, and they're like 150 gigabyte large
Ugh.
downloads. And then
Yeah.
if you actually
Yeah.
look at what that all that is being used for, it's textures, because they do
Mhm.
these 4K uncompressed textures, right? And so the game ends up being 150 gigs, not because the design is that complex, not because the programming is not that complex. It's because just
Yeah.
the actual just the textures on all of the objects are uncompressed 4K textures, and it just chews up 90% of those games at this point are art assets, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And um, uh, um, and it's just Nintendo is so. I'm sorry, I'm going into hardcore fanboy mode here. I apologize. I'm
It's
literally
okay.
I'm
It's totally
high
okay.
on Mario Brothers Wonder right now, but
I think it's great. I think because I mean we do gush and fanboy over stuff sometimes, but a lot of times we do. Again, we yell at clouds a lot, so it is refreshing to have fanboy episodes too.
well, I
So
mean,
it's
okay,
good.
but I mean, like, look, like right there is a bunch of Nintendo amiibos. Like right there is a Margot figurine, right?
Yes,
There's
yeah,
Pikachu on the
yeah,
Tokyo Tower.
yeah,
You can't see it, but there's. I mean, I don't. Everybody needs to like take this with a grain of salt. I am an unashamedly.
yeah.
I'm a Nintendo fanboy. I mean, there's no question
I
about
knew what I
that.
was getting into tonight when
Right,
I asked you
exactly.
if you
So
bought you
you
bought
need
the
to
game.
temper, right? You have to temper your your expectations. So like you take everything that I'm saying and then divide by like I don't know, like 15%. Like take 15% off. Probably more like 30, but I'm gonna say 15%. Um, because yeah, it's I don't know. I like look for. I haven't looked forward to playing a game this much in a long time, and
Wow.
so yeah, it was a bit of an aside, but like you look at the and it so anyway, so bringing it all full circle, art related, um.
There's a
Uh,
ton of art, so they do.
right,
Oh,
so like
but
you look at Call of Duty or Starfield, 150 gigabytes. I'm being hyperbolic
mhm.
slightly.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
so let's just take a look. I don't know off the top of my head, but let's take a look here. Super
Oh,
Mario
I don't think you're that. I don't
Bros
think you're far up.
Wonder Memory Space. Okay, this game is a bottomless pit of art as far as I'm concerned. Right, like
Uh huh.
there's always every stage I go to. There's like I don't. This is new art. This is like this one-off animation, and this is this new thing. This is this new thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
4 gigabytes.
Gosh, how do they do that? They must have their own proprietary. They've got to have their own proprietary
No,
image compression tool, right? To use for the
it's
games to
it's
do something like
it's
that.
way simpler than that. And this is something that we've talked to at length. Is when you're not trying for realism, everything
Oh,
becomes cheaper, right?
yeah.
The reason why
Also,
Starfield, the reason why Call of Duty is so
hmm,
expensive is because they're
yeah.
trying to create this photorealistic existence And Mario is not making any attempt to do that. And so you
Yeah.
don't have
Yeah,
to
that's
do
true.
these massive 4K uncompressed 4K textures, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
like again, like
That's all true.
if you look at the actual breakdown of a hyper realistic game, at this point, I would argue that it's almost 90% art, right?
Hmm.
Because code is cheap. It's just text. It's easily
Yeah. Hmm.
compressible, right?
Yeah.
I'd say second to 90% is too high. I'd say second to art, it's audio. Audio is also expensive,
Yeah. It
but
can be
the
heavy. Hmm.
difference is they've got lossless compression on audio now, so you
Hmm.
can actually do lossless compression and get these really, really like CD or greater quality audio pieces, and you can compress it down. Right now, audio it still takes up a big chunk, but it's pales in comparison to the footprint of art. Right.
Hmm. Hmm.
But like words and programming and all that stuff is incredibly cheap. It's all art, is what costs the space. And Super Mario Brothers Wonder, the art is impeccable. The animation is impeccable.
Hmm.
But they're not
Yeah.
trying to
It
go for
looks
something hyper
beautiful.
realistic, you know?
Hmm.
And so you can create something that's beautiful and true art without having this massive art footprint if you're not trying to go, if you're not chasing this dragon of photorealism, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
So anyway, that was a soapbox, and I'm gonna step
Another
down
another
off of that
interesting
soapbox.
another interesting thing. I don't know whether Nintendo future proofed this particular iteration of Mario or not, but so with the hardware, the Switch runs at 1080p, right? Natively, that's their
If
when you
generally
hook up to
speaking, yeah. If it's docked, it will.
if it's docked, yeah.
Yeah.
So that means that you're catering your images to make sure it looks good on 1080p. But whereas when you're talking about Starfield, they're making stuff for 4K. They're trying to make sure the textures
Right.
hold up to 4K, right? I mean, that's
But
another thing to kind of consider too.
well, it is and it isn't, right? So
Hmm.
the thing is that Super Mario Brothers Wonder, it would look slightly better on 4K than 1080p, but not
Okay.
because of the art assets, but because when you're at that higher resolution, the slight aliasing of the pixels becomes less noticeable because you have more pixels to play with, right?
And everything's flat shaded type of colors and
Yeah,
stuff.
but all the
It's more.
yeah the textures are lower fidelity than you would find on Starfield or equivalent games, um, and it's just Nintendo understands. Sorry, I'm in full fanboy mode right now,
I know you are. It's really funny actually
and it's
to to see
please
this condition
yeah,
on
and
you,
that's fine, and you
especially with
can
the way we started the stream. I thought we were gonna have a typical stream where we're
no no
ranting about something, but no, it's all gone.
it's
It's just
gone. It's just
nothing
pure
but
joy.
flowers
I
and.
don't yeah. I mean there are actually talking flowers in the game, and it
Hmm.
is way more entertaining than you think it would be, right?
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
not and in fact I'm playing this. This is the degree that they thought about this game. They've mixed down the audio on the flowers. So all the other sound effects are louder than the dialogue of the flowers, but they did.
Hmm.
I know because I've worked in audio. I've been an audio producer. I've taught. I've worked on all of this stuff. So it is not a coincidence that the flowers are mixed down lower than the other sound effects. It's because they didn't want them to become annoying. And if they had made the
Yeah.
flowers really loud, they would have gotten annoying.
Hmm.
And as a result, they're unobtrusive. They don't impact. They're not. They don't give gameplay hints, so you don't have to pay attention to them. They're purely just decoration, but they're
Hmm.
hilarious. It's so fun when you find a new flower and they say some dumb thing that has no bearing
Hmm.
on the game, but it just again it makes the whole experience that much fun. I mean, it's pure, unadulterated joy compressed into a video game. Like I can't. This might be one of the most fun video games I have played in a very, very long time.
Hmm.
Um, anyway, so yeah, it's just Um, I lost my train of thought a little bit there, but
Well, I don't worry. I have plenty more questions that'll put you right back on that happy train.
all right, all
And
right.
but
And
the
I,
next
if,
thing the
for the record, for anybody watching this, I really hope you're a big Nintendo fan because otherwise, this is
it's done. I think it's worth. You know what though?
like
I'm guilty of.
we're on 40 minutes, and the only
I
thing we've
know,
talked
and you're
about
not
tonight was
even,
Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
and that's fine because I think Mario deserves it. I mean, he's been with us for how long now? He's over 40 years,
Yeah,
50
I
years
mean,
at this
the
point.
original Donkey Kong
Yeah,
was what 81.
yeah, I think so. I
Let me
think
see,
so.
Donkey Kong. Yeah, 81. Donkey. So this
Yeah.
is so maybe there's some sort of cosmic connection because I was born in 81, so Mario is as old as I am.
It is meant to be. Um, but staying as we're chewing on this fanboy Mario train. Another thing that's like to kind of throw back a little bit, we can talk about Dark Souls for a second, and
Yeah,
they
sure.
also were referring to this Mario iteration being the Dark Souls Mario because you can see
Yes.
ghost images.
Oh
So
my god.
there's a whole other layer of stuff that's going on. I don't
It
even know
is
if you've even tapped into
amazing.
that.
It is amazing. It is brilliant. I love it. It is. I think people are
So
being a little bit generous. I would not. Okay, so there's two things that are going on here.
so the, so
Yeah.
before we even go to the whole other two things. So they've taken Dark Souls and made it happy is what I want to. That's the log line I want to use. I want to say
They
it's
take it
happy
Dark
Dark
Souls.
Souls.
I don't. Although I would love to play a game like that. I mean, as we've spoken at length, I think the main reason why I don't like Dark Souls is I just hate the aesthetics so much. Um,
Sure.
but no, it's not. They've said that, and I get where they're getting it, but it's not as complex. It's not as integral. Well, that's not even true now that I think about. Anyway,
Well, you said there's two things though, huh?
right. It's two things. So, you can turn on online mode, and what
Okay.
happens is that when you are playing a stage, it will randomly grab three other players to join you while you're playing the stage. Now, you can't interact with them directly. They can't obstruct your ability to play. They're shadows in your world that you just see bouncing around with you across the stage.
So
However,
meanwhile, they're seeing you as a shadow, right? That's how
exactly,
it
they
works.
see me as a shadow. However, if
Okay.
like I fall or I get hit by an enemy and I die, I turn into a ghost. And I can flutter around as a ghost, and if I touch one of these other players who are actively playing the stage with me, then it saves me from dying and I can continue playing the stage. It's just like this,
Oh,
it's amazing. It's this weird communal community design feature that's passive but also I don't ever want to play a Mario game without it after this point. Like I turned it on the first stage, and there's been no point where I'm like, I want to turn this off. I don't want this to be part of my experience, right? But then the other thing, so that's one. The other thing that you can do is you can place signs in the world, and it's not as robust as like the Souls series or Demon Souls or I
hmm.
assume Elden Ring. You can do the same thing,
Yeah,
where
you can.
you can actually like place contextual messages like warning
Yeah,
trap ahead,
hmm.
right?
Yeah,
You can't do that, but what you can do is you can just place a sign and a spot, right? And the sign serves two purposes. One, depending on how you place it, it can be a clue that there's a hidden block here that you can hit. Or
Okay.
the other thing that it'll do is if you've turned into a ghost and there's no other players around, you can touch one of the signs and you'll respawn that way as well. So there is value in constantly placing signs as you play through the stage. So there's this tertiary design, community design, online community design feature that it
Hmm.
just makes the game even better, right?
Hmm.
And you can't play online with strangers, but you can
Okay.
if everybody's looking at the same screen. You can play multiplayer together, right? So it's got the multiplayer component of the previous 2D Mario games on the Wii and the Wii U, but only if you're playing locally. If you've got the online feature turned on, the other players are just they're ghosts in your environment, but they have this sort of indirect, direct impact on your ability to survive a stage, and it's just brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. I don't even know. It's amazing to me that no one has made a side-scrolling game with a feature like this before, because it's one of those things where it's just like you play it and you go, well, yeah, obviously, why didn't we do this 10 years ago? It's like it's unbelievable. I don't know that I would want to go back to a 2D Mario game without this feature, because it's so obviously what should have always been there, right?
So when you're talking about the shadows and stuff like that, that's pretty much replaced what the bubble system was in
correct.
New Super Mario Bros.,
that is correct. Right? Yeah, that is correct. It replaces the bubble system. You become a ghost, but unlike in the New Super Mario Bros. Series, where your other players had to be with you in the stage, as long as you have other ghost players around you or the signs that they've dropped, you can respawn, right? And so there is this community aspect of saving. It's like a community saving throw. It's just unbelievable, right?
And these signs are populated in level. They're from other players from around the world, not exactly the 4 that are playing with you in your stage. They just, is Nintendo just cherry picking random signs? I'll
roll it. Yeah, they roll a dice, and like these 3 players are also playing the stage. Okay, they're now on the stage with you, and that's it.
That's kind of similar. Yeah, that's similar to how Dark Souls was too, except for there were a lot of trolls that would outfit there.
Yeah,
so
you
this
can't.
Cliff leads to
you can't
a wondrous treasure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The way this feature is implemented, you can't troll. You can only, no matter how hard you try, you can only be productive. You can only help. It's just absolutely brilliant.
We'll challenge accepted. I'll see if I can, what I can do.
You'll figure it out. I'm sure you'll find a way. And then when you do, but no, it is an absolute joy to play. I'm already on the last world, or the second to last.
Oh my word! Wow.
I think there's like 7 worlds, and I'm almost done with World 6 actually. But then the thing is, though, is like I'm not like 100%ing every stage. I'm just kind of playing through the stages and having fun.
Yeah, that's an excuse for replayability. You can go back, and if you want to be a completionist.
Right.
Are you a completionist though with Mario? Because I never got the sense you were with other games.
No, I'm not.
But...
I'm like an 80%er on Mario. Once I cross the 80% threshold, then I'm like, okay, I'm good. Right. I don't need any more than this. But this game might get closer to 90, just because generally speaking, it's just in general, it's been an easier version of Mario, and that's not a 2D Mario, and that's not a complaint at all. Actually, it's an absolute virtue of the product that they were like, you know what, we're going to focus on just having fun in the stages. They even got rid of the timer. There's no points, there's no timer. Once you start a stage, you can just hang out in the stage for as long as you want, explore as much as you want, right?
That's pretty cool.
There is a real and this, obviously this has been done. I mean, Donkey Kong Country had that long before Mario ever did, but the fact that they're finally embracing that is just like it makes the whole concept of discovery even more valuable, because you don't feel like you're rushed to figure things out. You can sit there and kind of play and test this concept and test that concept, And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have yet to find a stage. There's been one stage where I'm like, okay, this is frustrating, but
wow, okay,
there are like playing New Super Mario Bros. U, which I also have on the Switch. Within like World 3, there are stages like, oh, I need to take a break because this is driving me crazy. Yeah. Like by the third world, I'm like, I need to take a break because this is so frustrating, right?
Yeah.
And I have yet to even get even remotely close to that frustration level in New Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And it is an absolute virtue of the game, in my opinion.
So between us both, I'm the slacker when it comes to Mario. I've liked Mario, but I am on the other side of the fence. I like Samus Aran. I love your shirt, by the way. I'm a big Metroid fan.
NES remix. This is a classic.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. That still has a throwback. Still talks about Mario there.
Oh my god, I would play the hell out of a new NES remix, or if they did like a Super NES remix. Oh, I would love that.
Yeah,
those games were so fun.
Yeah, but But getting down on Mario, I'm still playing Super Mario 3D World right now.
Oh yes, another
So I'm
great
way
game.
behind you. Yeah, it's a great game, but all the frustration you talk about, you do get that like pretty early on in
Mm-hmm.
3D World. I think it's a pretty
New,
challenging game.
yeah, New Super Mario 3D World is a hard game. It's great, but it's really
Yeah,
hard. Yeah.
and I'm on the stage now where I'm up in space, the outer space levels and
Yep.
stuff like that.
Yep.
It's almost like you need to play it almost like 80% perfection, sort of like right
Yep.
between that to even finish the stage, or do you just get the white suit and cheat and well, not cheat, but whatever
Yeah.
it's in the
Go into
game, so it's not
easy mode.
cheating
Yeah.
and going to easy mode. But yeah, that's a tough game.
It is. It
And
gets
I've been
really hard. Yeah.
and so that's interesting that you're saying that you found frustration only well later into the game, which is pretty cool. In that way, because that way you do get a chance to just sightsee and enjoy the game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's so much. There's so much pretty stuff. There's so much amazing visuals and subtle little animations, and we're at 50 minutes now, so we should probably wrap up. I could talk about this for another an hour
Well, we could go into sequel mode next week if we need to
if we need
about
to.
Mario. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah. As far as the anime stuff, so as you can see, we now have finished art for Leon. He's actually been colored
Nice.
in his master file now, so we have him in with the darker fuchsia. But yeah, so we've got him pretty much set up for animation. He doesn't do much, which is great. I don't have to animate anything really here, but I'll update the rest of the stuff. Maybe I'll go to next week and we'll talk about it more, and I'll keep working on the scene. But it is already
Let's see here.
80% done for a scene.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So next week I will be around, but I am moving to a new place in 2 weeks.
Congratulations.
Yes.
To
So
you.
next week's stream,
Yes.
this background will be the last time that you see
Oh,
this
it's a
background,
milestone
which we
episode.
have. This has been my background for close to 3 years now, if not
Yeah.
exactly 3 years.
Yeah.
And so this background will change, and God, has it really been 3 years?
Yeah, it has been. I was looking at some of our streams when we first started, because we started right around COVID,
Yeah,
when COVID,
like right at COVID.
at the mystery of COVID. And this is our way of just interacting with people, or just us just working together, simulating Warner Brothers. We thought this is a great excuse to do it. But yeah, it's been 3 years. Like in almost every week, I would say 90% of so our 90 we have a 90% completion rate with doing a stream like you with Mario Brother, with your Mario games. So it works good.
Yeah.
So
So next Monday the 30th, everybody, it'll be a very special episode. Maybe I'll talk to Jeff and we'll bring him on as a guest star for our last episode in my current location. I'll text him and see if he wants to join us. And we'll trip the Light Fantastique, and we'll end our current generation of streams at this location next Monday. We'll be off the following Monday almost certainly, because I will be moving that week and get everything set up. And then hopefully by the second week in November, I'll be back up and running, and who knows what my background will be. Who knows?
Oh, it's a mystery. It's a big giant mystery.
I know what the
question mark box.
I know what the room I'm going to be in looks like, but I don't know what posters are going to be where. So
okay.
Ooh, mystery.
See, another. Yeah, that's cool. Looking forward to it.
So next week, everybody, will be the last week at my current location.
I'm curious to see what decorations you decide to use.
It'll just be Nintendo shit. I mean, it's not.
No, that's what I mean.
It's not going to be.
That's fine.
Okay.
No, that's cool. Yeah.
Just so I don't want to get people's expectations too high. It won't be particularly dissimilar to whatever
Too late.
Anywho. So yeah, I think that's good. We've been going for a while. I could go even longer on Super Mario Brothers Wonder, but
we'll keep it for sequel. We'll do it for next week.
Yeah, the fact that I've already talked about it for an hour, I feel like is enough. I really hope.
No, there's more. I had a whole bunch of questions just off the top of my head that I'll just park them and I'll use it for next week because there's more.
I just really hope that anybody who watches this down the line is like, man, I just like Eric being happy about something because that's that's literally all this stream is, right? It's like, oh, it's good. It's nice to see him happy about something, because I spend so
In
much
fact,
time going, what's that?
yeah. In fact, our title of our stream tonight should be just happy.
Happy.
That's what you
That
should put. That's
exactly
the
right.
title.
Happy. That'll be what it is. Okay, we have the stream. Anyway, okay, so we're at 55 minutes, so I'll wrap it up here. You can head on over to calamitygene.rocks. That'll take you to our Patreon site. Please consider subscribing and helping us produce this cartoon. Obviously, we're doing it anyway, but if we can have some funds, it'll just make the cartoon a little bit better, and you'll get all kinds of free silly stuff if you join on some of the higher tiers. Otherwise, you can find us on Facebook and YouTube, which presumably you have done because you're watching this. Also, head on over to our Instagram page at Calamity Jane Salamander. We also will post links to the stream, and we're going to start posting art assets and some behind-the-scenes goodies there, as well as a few other things. And we're continuing trying to explore social media, so there'll be more stuff coming up eventually as we figure that out. Anyway, I think that's all of the links that you can find us on. We will see you next week for the ultimate episode at my current location before my background changes and not much else. Anyway, stay safe out there, everybody, and we will see you next week. Good night.
Good night.